Okay, all right, good afternoon, everyone. A warm welcome to today's webinar, Accelerating Social Impact Through Coaching with Michael Kobrin. My name is Leo, the Programming Co-Director with ICF Toronto. If we haven't met before, now is a perfect time to get acquainted. But before we dive into the juicy details about today's event and our fantastic speaker, let's just take a moment to do a land acknowledgement. Then we're going to share some exciting announcements because trust me, we got a lineup of incredible events coming up that you don't want to miss. So first thing first, let's pay tribute to the indigenous peoples of the lands we're gathering virtually today. Even though we're online, let's take a moment to recognize the significance of the territories we call home. It's crucial for us to strengthen our relationships with each other and indigenous communities and understand their cultures better. From coast to coast to coast, let's honor the ancestral and unceded territory of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people. Together, we can acknowledge the mistakes of the past and work towards reconciliation and collaboration. Okay, all right. Now let's talk about how you can stay connected and stay in the loop with our vibrant community. I think you're gonna love this. So Michael, if you can stop sharing the presentation for now. Great, thank you. Let me just very quickly share my screen. Can you all see it?
Yep.
Okay, so the easiest way is to head over to our ICF Toronto website. As you can see, icftoronto.com, and hover over events, ICF Toronto events. And from this page, you can see all the upcoming events, including today's events. All right. So we have a lot of stuff, exciting stuff coming, and we're planning things out 3-4 months away. For example, you can mark your calendar for for September the 13th, okay? When we'll be hosting a virtual event on making difficult conversations easy with Ahmad Shah. And don't miss out on September the 20th. It's going to be an in-person event where we'll be diving into the world of small business coaching in person. And obviously there's more for November events and stuff like that. So you can check all this information on the website. And if you're a fan of our monthly newsletter, we've also have you covered there. Okay, so this is our July newsletter, and you can check all the latest and greatest information in there, including in October the 20th, we are going to have an in-person meeting. It's a town hall with Michael Bonde-Stainer. Okay, so it's going to be a very exciting event, just like we just held in June. All right. So now let's shift our focus back to today's main event, coaching as a catalyst for personal and organizational transformation. We all know the power of coaching, but now we have a unique opportunity to leverage it for social change. In this webinar, you will dive into the ICF Foundation's Ignite initiative and discover how you can contribute to driving social systems change through coaching. And without further ado, let me introduce our incredible speaker today, Michael Kobrin. Michael is a member of the ICF Foundation's 2023 Council of Ambassadors. He is the founder and CEO of Creati, a social enterprise making life-changing coaching and human skills learning programs accessible to all. Not only that, but he's also an instructor and head career coach with Intercultural Skills Lab with the Rotman School of Management. As a CPA, certified coach, and professional photographer, Michael offers a refreshing perspective on creativity, leadership, and social innovation. So Michael's career journey might be very unconventional, but it's all driven by a grand purpose, which is to empower human potential through learning, coaching, and community. Okay, now let's get ready to be inspired and enlightened by Michael's share. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Over to you, Michael.
Great. Thanks so much, Leo, for the energetic introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. I know lunchtime is a sacred time for many of you, so appreciate you taking some time over the lunchtime hour to spend a bit of time chatting about the intersection of coaching and social impact, two areas that I am very passionate about. I was fortunate to present to the ICF Toronto group a couple of years ago, and the topic at the time was around creativity and innovation. So today, a bit of a shift, perhaps more to the social innovation side. What I'd welcome you to do, because these meetings are also as much about connection as content, introduce yourself in the chat, the organization you may be working for, or anything you want to share to help perhaps create some connections with other people in the group, because I know we have people from a lot of different areas here today. So I think collectively we can also start generating and tapping into that social innovation ecosystem as well. So a bit about my social impact journey. I left a career in finance and risk 8 years ago to become a coach, and originally started my career focused on leadership and executive coaching. And the pivot for me happened around 2018 when I started working in the Intercultural Skills Lab at Rotman. And one of my colleagues we have here as well, Mariam, who works with me at Rotman. But that really, and for those of you that aren't familiar with that program, it's a program that provides leadership and career advancement programs for internationally trained professionals. So when I started working with the newcomer community, it was really at that time that I realized the potential impact and the significant impact that coaching could have on the lives of newcomers, even through, 1, 2, or 3 coaching sessions. But it also made me realize how, for many, coaching still remains inaccessible. And that was really the pivot for the next phase of my career and my organization, Creati, was thinking, how can we come up with innovative and scalable ways of increasing access to coaching, and particularly career development coaching and what I call human skills learning programs. So things around creativity, humanity, and adaptability. So that, brought me into that whole area. And last year, actually towards the end of last year, I applied for the ICF Foundation Council of Ambassadors role. And that has really been exciting, being able to collaborate with people from across the world around how we can generate a lot more interest in social impact through coaching. So I would love to hear from you. If we think of the world as it is today, a lot of social challenges we're facing. I'm not going to go into all of those, and I know in the different communities you're in, you're probably faced with very sort of specific challenges. But as you think about some of the social challenges we're faced with and what coaching can do, would love you to just type in the chat and complete the sentence, coaching can. What do you think coaching can do, and how can coaching help drive social impact? So coaching can transform, coaching can liberate. It provides perspective and possibility. It can help people build internal resourcing, so it can empower, inspiring creativity to help solve some of these problems. Lessen the socioeconomical gap, so exactly. Inspire change and lead to change. So a lot of different areas, change perspective. So you can see the comments coming in, a lot of different things that coaching can do. And we're going to be chatting quite a bit today around how we're uniquely positioned as coaches to help address some of these challenges as well. Even ameliorate suffering and building resilience, challenge deconstructive self-beliefs, promote courage and eliminate fear. So many powerful ways that we can leverage coaching to help drive social change and address some of the challenges we're facing. So in terms of our agenda today, we're going to spend a bit of time just chatting about what the role of coaching is in driving social change. I'm going to be talking a bit about the ICF Foundation's work in this area, and more specifically, the Ignite initiative. And we're going to spend probably 15 minutes or so at the end answering questions. So I would encourage you to hold off on questions till the end, because we will be covering some of the pieces that you may have questions about. But if there's any pressing questions throughout, just pop something in the chat, and I'll definitely try to answer that if I can. So when we're talking about social impact, I know this is a long definition and probably more words than I would normally put on a slide, but it's really important just to define social impact in the context of coaching and what we're talking about today. So when we're talking about social impact, we're talking about the measurable positive impact, outcome, of a specific intervention, in this case, coaching, on the well-being and development of society as a whole. And the ultimate goal of this is to address social challenges and promote social systemic change. So it's really important when we're thinking about coaching and social impact. What we're talking about is how can we leverage coaching to drive positive impacts that impact the well-being and development of society. But ultimately, how can we leverage coaching to address social challenges and social systemic change? So one of the things I just quickly wanted to do is a quick poll, because we have people from working in nonprofit organizations, we have people in the social impact sector. We're going to just quickly pull up a poll, and you can choose more than one, because as coaches know, we can be more than one thing. But would love to just have you fill that poll and describe the statements that best describe you or your coach. Do you work in a nonprofit or social enterprise? Or are you a leader in a nonprofit or social enterprise? Do you work in the public sector? And we have another category which would capture a lot of the private sector as well. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to respond to that poll. And Kim, let me know how we're doing on the poll in terms of responses.
Yeah, we're 30 of 37, 81% have participated.
Perfect. I think that's a good number. So maybe we'll go ahead and share. Great. So 94% of your coaches, not surprising since this is an ICF Toronto event, but looking through quite a few of you work in a nonprofit or social enterprise. Quite a few of the leaders in a nonprofit or social enterprise. A number of you work in the public sector, and some of you work in other areas as well. So thank you for sharing that. And again, we hope that you have an opportunity to connect with different people. And it's good for me to know just the different audience members we have. So we may have sort of specific questions around different areas of the initiative. So when it comes to coaching and social impact, and a lot of what the ICF Foundation focuses on, it's very much we use the UN Sustainable Development Goals as our blueprint. And just by show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the UN Sustainable Development Goals? So certainly sort of quite a few of you. Certainly for people working in the social impact sector, these are something that you're looking at quite regularly. For those of you outside who may not be as familiar, these were a set of goals that the UN initially established in 2015. And in 2017, they went a step further by really assigning very specific targets around all of these. So when we look at the work of the ICF Foundation, it's how can we drive positive outcomes in these 17 specific areas. And as you can see, it's presented, in blocks, but the ecosystem, they're so interconnected. So we know that when we improve gender equality, that's going to have impacts on education, health, and well-being. We know that climate action is going to reverberate through a lot of these others as well. So they have very specific goals for each of them, but obviously they are very interconnected. So when we talk about the Ignite initiative and some of the work the foundation's doing, we are going to tie it back to these goals as well. So why, as coaches, and how as coaches can we impact the social impact ecosystem? And when we think of it and the ecosystem itself, so often we think purely in terms of nonprofit organizations. And it's important for us to expand our knowledge and understanding of the social impact ecosystem as made up of all these different types of entities. And there are probably a few that I may have missed. So if anyone has a better social impact ecosystem that they want to share, I'd encourage you to send it to me. I was doing some research, and interestingly enough, I couldn't find as many diagrams that really illustrated a lot of the key elements of the social impact ecosystem ecosystem. So I went and created my own, might be sort of a bit rudimentary, but I definitely encourage you, if you have great ecosystems to share, I'm always looking to learn about different frameworks. So when we think of the overall social impact ecosystem, we have nonprofits and NGOs who we are very familiar with. What we're seeing now is a huge increase in the number of social enterprises. So these are often startups and technology companies that are trying to address specific social challenges. So these could be for-profit or non-for-profit companies. I was looking at a few examples today just to illustrate. One is Too Good To Go. I don't know if you're familiar with that organization. So they're trying to divert food waste, and they have a great app. If you're looking to get baked goods at the end of a day, or things that may end up in the waste, they have an app where they partner with different restaurants and bakeries and supermarkets where you can purchase significantly discounted goods. And I believe it's over $1 trillion globally of food waste happens each year, even though 828 million people are actually going without meals every day. So that was, again, sort of a way of how can we drive innovation to address specific challenges. Another great one was the Binners Project in Vancouver, and they found a way of empowering people who go through waste to identify recyclables and a lot of those other products to then take back for the deposits. And they realized that the people that are doing it are doing such a huge community service. So they found a way to provide them a living wage and find partners and essentially offer sort of waste sorting facilities and products as well. So a lot that we're seeing, and great companies in the social innovation space. We have the private sector, a lot being done in the corporate social responsibility area, but a lot of partnerships as well with different areas in this ecosystem. We have the public sector, as we know, and colleges and universities is important to highlight as well, because we have those students who are then going to go into a lot of these other organizations. So we as coaches know the ripple effect when we're involved in a lot of these organizations. And as coaches, we operate in many of these different areas, as we saw in the previous poll. So when we factor on who we are impacting in these different areas, we know that when we coach leaders in the organization, it has a ripple effect on the organization. We have employees in this organization who we coach. We have beneficiaries, so clients of a lot of these social impact organizations. And then we have students as well. So when you think of the different insertion points that we as coaches have to drive social impact and also to connect people in all these different areas, I think there are a lot of different ways that we can get involved in programs and help accelerate social impact. And this is one of my favorite Margaret Mead quotes: all social change comes from the passion of individuals. And we know that as coaches, we are there to drive passion and help our clients uncover their passions and sense of purpose. But we also know that we as coaches are hugely involved in the community and have a lot of passion for these projects as well. So a little bit about the ICF Foundation. For those of you who aren't familiar with US tax, it's a 501c3 nonprofit organization, but I guess the translation here in Canada would be a charitable organization that sits separately from ICF Global, which a lot of you are more familiar with. So it's an organization that works with a group of 5 or so people that they have based in different locations, and then work with this Council of Ambassadors to really promote the word of the foundation throughout the world. So to me, it's really incredible what a small group of people can do when they have the support of a global organization and these volunteers across the world. And the ultimate goal of the foundation is to connect and equip professional coaches and organizations to help accelerate and amplify social impact through coaching. So again, that whole concept of how can we connect people within the ecosystem to really amplify social systems change. The foundation supports the ICF strategic plan, and a lot of you might be familiar with ICF Global. This is ICF Global's mission and vision. I'd heard of the mission before, but before I became part of the ICF Foundation, I actually didn't realize that the vision of ICF Foundation is a world where coaching is integral to transforming societies. So we know that as coaches, we're here to do the value work. We're there to drive value and that excellence and that impact. But ultimately, as coaches, what we're trying to do is transform societies. And we have this Council of Ambassadors. We have 8 Council of Ambassador members from around the world. And we had one of our meetings earlier today. And it's just amazing, just the connections that you're able to make. And if any of you are ever interested in volunteering on the Council of Ambassadors, I'm also happy to chat about my experience. But it's been great just collaborating with this group and also understanding how do we each bring value in the different areas and what are our secret sauce. And really making sure that we can leverage and share information as a group, as well as really bringing attention to a lot of the challenges and specific challenges in the different countries and regions as well. So the ICF Foundation, when we look at their priorities, there are 3 primary areas that they focus on. As a charitable organization, obviously fundraising to support their programs is important. There's a scholarship program for coach education and the Ignite initiative, both of which we're going to chat a bit more about. So the scholarships information I wanted to highlight because a lot of people don't know that this program exists. So we know that becoming a coach can be expensive, and for a lot of people, it's still out of reach. So ICF offers coach education scholarships to help people in underrepresented regions and populations become coaches. 8 scholarships were awarded in 2023, and Canada actually had really good coverage there. So we had 4 scholarships coming from Canada. So the 2024 scholarship application will be opening in the fall of 2023. So if you know people who are interested in becoming coaching but cannot because it's cost prohibitive, you can either nominate individuals or they can apply directly. So I really encourage you, if you do know people, to apply for this program. And obviously, the more donations we get as a foundation, we're able to fund more scholarships as well. So the piece that I really want to spend a good bulk of our discussion today is on the Ignite initiative. And the tagline is engaging coaching for humanity and the planet. And the Ignite initiative was started in 2017. And what it does is it allows ICF chapters and credential holders to offer coaching to leaders, employees, it could be students or beneficiaries within organizations that support those United Nations global goals. So the ultimate goal is to find organizations that are tied and doing great work to address some of those UN goals and to allow them to be coached, either the leaders of those organizations, it could be clients of those organizations, or employees, as well as students. And the program is 6-month reduced rate coaching engagement. So it used to be primarily pro bono, but based on feedback for a lot of people who wanted to, working with organizations, sometimes who, could pay, but, didn't want to, there was a bit of a mix, and we opened it up to allowing reduced rates. So the ICF Foundation doesn't get involved. It's really for the coaches to decide what makes sense for the organization. But we recognize that there's still a lot of financial hardships for organizations. So as long as you can, provide a bit of background around why you're looking for pro bono coaching, that option is available as well. And the Ignite initiative has impacted organizations that reach more than 16 million lives since 2017. So again, as we talk about coaching and the ripple effect, you can really see that it's had a significant impact. And, as we look at organizations and the leaders in those organizations, when they're able, and when you're dealing with organizations that have large groups of clients and beneficiaries, we really do see that ripple effect. So how the program works is the organization will partner with a chapter to identify the coaching that they want. So the organization will be identified. At that point, coaches will be recruited for that organization. And I'll chat a bit more later, but organizations can apply directly, or chapters can apply on behalf of an organization. But for those of you here who are leaders in organizations, you can apply directly. And what will happen then is the ICF Foundation will work to coordinate with local chapters in that region to find coaches to be able to provide the coaching to your organization. We would then coach leaders of the partner organization around specific goals that you have. So we would very much identify what you are looking to measure and what success would look like to you from a coaching engagement perspective. The coaching would then consist of 6-month coaching engagements with a maximum of 10 sessions and a minimum of 6 sessions. And ultimately, we would want to be measuring a lot of this data at the beginning and end of the program to be able to show the measurement. And we'll be answering, if you have any sort of specific questions around any of the process pieces, we can definitely spend quite a bit of time answering those at the end of today's session. The foundation will also provide you with all the tools. So we know that sometimes it can be a little intimidating, especially as a coach, you can apply directly as well. So if you're a coach that's working with an organization or there's an organization you really want to provide pro bono coaching, you can also apply directly. And you will be supported through me if you're in Canada, as a Council of Ambassador, whichever region you're in. And the ICF provides a lot of these resources to really help you throughout the process. So from the beginning, from the Memorandum of Understanding to working out the chemistry matches to, the end of coach measurement pieces, all of these pieces will be mapped out for you. So we really want to make sure that it's an easy process and that project managing this is seamless. The other thing I'll mention is obviously, as this is an ICF Foundation program, it is limited to ICF credentialed coaches. So for the actual coaching to the leaders or the beneficiaries or the people in the organizations, we do require that the people be credentialed coaches, but there are also opportunities if people are still, for whatever reason, don't have an ICF credential, there are opportunities to project manage these as well. So different ways of being involved. And we have had these past Canadian participating organizations. So since inception, since 2017, we've had 4 projects in Canada. And I would really love to see an uptick in that number. We have such depth of knowledge within our coach community. And I know there's so many coaches working and that have connections to incredible organizations. So hoping to really see an uptick in the number of Canadian applications over the next year. So just a couple of numbers, and certainly as an accountant, or as someone who spent a lot of his career in finance, the numbers sometimes resonate a lot with me. But as we can see, since Ignite was originally started, we've been able to donate 3,571 hours of pro bono coaching with a value of over $1 million US. We've seen that 40% of ICF chapters are engaged in Ignite. So that's a great number. And this is something where we'd really, really like to see this number increase and see much more engagement from chapters throughout Canada. And 91% of coaches surveyed would recommend Ignite to other coaches. So we'll chat more as well later. I'll share some numbers around the feedback from organizations, but certainly coaches who have been involved really appreciated the process and felt that it was a valuable investment of their time. In terms of the top UN goals impacted, when Ignite started, it was very much focused on the quality education piece, and it's grown a lot since then. But we see the majority of applications and projects are still focused on quality education. Some of the other areas that we're touching on are good health and well-being, reduced inequalities, no poverty, and zero hunger. And this year, what we're trying to focus on are the UN goals around gender equality, clean water and sanitation, and climate action. So you can still apply if you're involved in any of those 17, but if you are working in or have connections to organizations working in climate action, gender equality and clean water and sanitation, that's a specific focus this year. So definitely encourage you to apply for those as well. So looking at the social impact report, and we look at the regions and the level of participation. So North America, we see at 41%. And the key thing is when we're looking at these numbers, in some cases, sometimes these numbers are representative of the inequalities and the privilege that sort of many of us, have in North America as well. And I think language barriers too. So these are numbers that we're really working closely to increase over time. But as you can see, we have global representation. And for those of you with links to Australia, or if anyone is either from Australia or knows coaches in Australia, I definitely encourage you to spread the word there. So we can definitely, use some higher numbers there in Australia. But as coaching, we're a global community. So to the extent, other people in different countries who may benefit from this program, and other NGOs and organizations working in social impact, please feel free to spread the word as well. So just some numbers that we see from the organization side in terms of impact. 76% of companies, organizations that were involved said the ripple effect of their gains from coaching increased and impacted operational efficiency and employee engagement. So really high number there. 89% affirmed that coaching contributed to their success. 97% were motivated to act on their learning from coaching. And, another really high number, 96%, would recommend coaching to others. So it's also a great way of spreading the word about coaching and having organizations that wouldn't previously have access to coaching or even have thought about coaching experience it and promote the value of coaching as well. And we also know that 50% saw significant change in competencies around leadership, teamwork, and personal development. And, if there are any sort of questions as well in the chat, feel free to sort of pop in and we'll come back to those at the end. So since we have a group, approximately 94% of you are already coaches, this will be familiar, but since I know we do have organizations as well who have joined us, just wanted to chat a bit about the benefits to coaches, to organizations who are involved in the Ignite initiative. So we know, and this is based on the ICF Global Coaching Survey, from an organizational level, there are a lot of benefits in the areas of improved work performance, better business management, time management, just even more focus on strategic planning, team effectiveness, and identifying opportunities for increased growth within the business. The employee level side, where we see significant impacts as well, is greater self-confidence, improved relationships, more effective communication skills, better work-life balance, and improved wellness. And obviously, when we're addressing a lot of those employee level outcomes, that has a ripple effect and can help drive a lot of those organizational level outcomes as well. So since we're talking to a group of coaches here today, just some of the benefits of coaches for being involved. The first one is to support social impact organizations in your community. So when we looked at that list of UN global goals, I'd imagine that there are causes and organizations that are very near and dear to you, and causes and social impact areas of focus that you definitely resonate more with. So you have an opportunity to support those social impact organizations in your community. There's an opportunity to build relationships and develop connections with leaders in those organizations. Depending on whether you position it as a pro bono or a reduced rate coaching engagement, you can use those hours towards your PCC and MCC credentials. There's also an opportunity for nomination for the ICF Chapter Recognition Awards. There's a certificate for those of you who do enjoy sharing those and being able to share and be recognized. We have a certificate program. There's an opportunity to gain experience in planning and implementing coaching engagements. So if you're a newer coach who just wants experience, dealing with organizations and going through that process and having access to all these tools that we're using in the process, another great way of learning. And as chapters, obviously, an opportunity to promote member and volunteer engagement as well. And the other thing we also recognize is many of the chapters already have social impact programs and community outreach programs. So we definitely recognize that a lot of great work is already being done. So there are opportunities to chat. Could we try turn those into Ignite initiatives, or if those continue, how can we then sort of layer this on, and how can we work together? Because what we really don't want at the end of the day is to take any attention away from programs that you have develop, but ways that we can really leverage off that and really expand the reach of some of those programs as well. So in terms of applications, they're twice a year in August and March. So the next call for applications is coming up quite soon, and that is on August the 28th. So if you're an organization that is looking to apply, we encourage you to think through what number of the number of coaches that you'd like, the number of clients you'd like, and apply before the August 28th deadline. And there's also, as I mentioned before, a special focus on these 3 UN goals. So there are 4 different ways to apply. The first is as an ICF chapter. So ICF chapters can, similar to how you run some of your other community programs, an ICF chapter can manage the project and apply on behalf of an organization. So identify the organization and go through the application that way. As an ICF credentialed coach, so as I mentioned before, if you're a coach and there's an organization that you want to be involved with or provide either pro bono or reduced rate coaching, you can apply directly. If you're an organization, and this is the area that I really want to focus, because historically we focused a lot on applications from the chapters and individual coaches, but we really do want to spread the word within organizations. So if you're an organization supporting the UN global goals and you've identified certain areas that you want to be coached on, organizations that are going through some sort of organizational transformation or changes or a new strategic plan development, or other areas of change and transformation, and you think you could benefit from coaching, I would definitely encourage you to apply. And then finally, ICF has another separate area. It's called coaching in organizations. So for members of there as well, they can apply directly too. And I encourage you to visit the ICF website for more details. And I have the link here as well. And in the introduction to the session, we also shared the link to Ignite. So before we jump into the questions, this is, again, you often hear me saying this is my favorite quote. It turns out I have a lot of really favorite quotes, but this one really resonates with me. I'm no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept. And this is what really got me into the area of social impact. I saw the inequities in accessibility to coaching. And for me, what I'm trying to work on now through the support of the ICF Foundation and hopefully the support of many of you here today is how can we make coaching more accessible and start increasing the outcomes so that we can generate positive gains for people and planet. So that was definitely a mouthful. I know my usual presentations, there's a lot less content, but because the process and the application part and the criteria are so important, wanted to make sure that I could cover all of those pieces before we jump into specific questions. So would love to hear from you, questions that you have, any other sort of feedback or anything, and even ideas that you may have around what we as a coach community can do to further social impact. So feel free to type in the chat, raise your hand, and we can address some of those questions.
Michael, Brenda raised her hand.
Perfect. Go ahead, Brenda.
Hi. So I just wanted to give a couple of comments. So our Toronto ICF, I've been actually doing this kind of pro bono coaching with Up With Women for a few years, because that's how I found out about them, through the Toronto ICF. And recently I joined the Coach Connect with Andrea, who's supporting the March of Dime, and I'm on to my 4th coaching session. So the feedback that I have given, and the reason I'm just sharing this is for those who are considering it. The feedback I have been given from those who I have coached is that it's totally changed their life. One individual did her law, wrote her law, whatever it's called, a law exam, because she was thinking about doing it. And after coaching, she did that. And she's now on her journey to becoming a successful lawyer. Others have said it's really given them the idea that they could really tap into the skills that they have. And recently, not to brag, but one of them just gave me a LinkedIn recommendation saying how marvelous it was. So I learned a lot from them. I learned about grit. I learned about resilience. I also learned about what it's like to look through and change my narrative on how I may perceive certain things. That's it.
Great. Thanks so much, Brenda. And I think, when we hear the experiences of people who have been involved in these types of projects, as well as the people who have received the coaching, really, really powerful. So thank you. And Katalin, I don't mean to sort of put you on the spot. I know Katalin represents ICF Hungary, who is involved in rolling out a number of Ignite projects. And Katalin, I'm not sure if there's anything that you wanted to say just around sort of the experience and being involved in Ignite.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad I can be here, and it was a very interesting presentation. And yes, ICF Hungary is also involved, the Ignite initiative, and we have several projects and programs. For example, we do cooperation with university students, students of HR professionals connected to coach students. So, for example, this is something we do for developing education on the educational field. And also we cooperate with PricewaterhouseCoopers in a mentoring program. They support non-for-profit organizations in mentoring, and we cooperate with them with coaching, individual and team coaching as well. And we have a couple of initiatives. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Great, thanks, Katalin. And I believe there's 5 programs or 5 initiatives currently that you're running.
Yeah, exactly. So we have several. I just highlighted 2. Okay.
Great, thanks, Katalin. And I'm just sort of getting onboarded with the ICF Foundation, but people like Katalin who have been involved are, in many ways, sort of the experts of these programs. But so great to hear from you, and also appreciate you taking the time today to join us from Hungary. Leo, I'll pass it over to you. Just if there are other questions that are coming up.
I think we have one question from the chat box. Can you see that, Michael? It's from Xienya. As I'm working towards by my ACC, you mentioned that there is an opportunity to support through project management, if not yet certified. What is the best way to learn more about this or get involved?
Sure. So Xenia, I want to make sure I get the pronunciation correct. So let me know if I did get it right. So definitely sort of reach out to me. I think once, if projects are identified within Canada directly through organizations, and they're, we're then looking for coaches and people to project manage, at that point, we can definitely reach out to people who may be interested in project managing them. So I definitely encourage you, I'll leave my email at the end of today's session, but definitely reach out to me, let me know you're interested. And to the extent we have initiatives that come up where we're looking for someone to be involved on the project management side, I will definitely reconnect with you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure. And anyone else, at any point, if you want to sort of learn more or just sort of schedule a quick talk, or even if you've sort of got ideas, you're active in the social impact space and are just looking for ways to sort of collaborate, even outside of the Ignite initiative, would definitely encourage you to reach out. Hang, you had your hand up?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation, Michael. I have a couple of questions. The first question, how do coaches get involved? I heard Brenda's sharing, and it's amazing. I know a lot of coaches in the ICF Toronto chapters, they're willing to volunteer their time. And what is the best way? And also kind of another fold is you mentioned it is sourced through local chapter, if I understand it correctly. So I can only volunteer for an NGO that is Canada-based. I kind of want to understand the logic behind it. I imagine there are other nonprofit outside of Canada, they might not have local coaches as many as we do here. Like maybe it's logistic reason and why not, but I kind of want to hear that a little bit. Another question is that like for us, like it showed in the poll, a lot of coaches attend those events because it is announced through ICF and we are heavily involved in the community. But for this type of outreach, we want to reach out to more NGO and leaders in those organizations. Do we have, what are some ways we're doing that so we can get our word out there so more nonprofit is aware of Ignite and so they can participate? Thank you.
So I know there were a couple of questions there. So at any point, if I miss anything, let me know. So I'll try respond to all of those. The first one, the program that Brenda was referring to is the ICF Toronto's Coach Connect program. Correct, Brenda? Yeah. So that's sort of a separate program. And I'm not sure if anyone from sort of ICF Toronto just quickly wants to chat about the Coach Connect program. But that was a separate program that has been running sort of for many years. So if you want to get involved, I believe there's information on the website. And Leo, maybe you can let us know who's currently sort of spearheading that. But the Coach Connect is sort of separate to this. So you can definitely reach out to people if that's a specific program you want to get involved in. So thanks, Leo. So he can certainly connect you hang with Andrea, who's involved in that Coach Connect. The other one is if you have identified organizations that aren't in Canada that you want to either provide coaching to, we can certainly sort of talk through that. I think it's it doesn't specifically have to be a Canadian organization. We just find that sort of quite often, just in terms of how we manage it, because we're based in Canada, it sort of makes things a little easier, just in terms of the interactions, time zones. But if there is an organization that you're thinking about or you'd like to provide coaching to somewhere else, and especially in a region that doesn't have access to coaches, definitely reach out to me and we can sort of chat. And the ICF Foundation can also support, because if the organization applies or if you apply on behalf of the organization and you need additional coaches, the ICF Foundation can sort of work with you to get the coaches you need. And was there anything else that I missed? I thought there were 3 parts to the question, but I may have missed.
Yeah, the last part, I was just wondering, how do we normally get the words out there, especially to raise awareness so more NGOs can apply? Like, what are we doing now, and if there anything we can contribute?
Yeah, so for me, that's a big part of what I'm trying to do, and my role as the Council of Ambassadors in having these sessions. So for every person in this in these sessions who works for one of those organizations, I would encourage you to share it within your networks. So I'm a member of the Center for Social Innovation, so I've been promoting it in there, and they have a lot of organizations that they work with. But I would encourage all of you who are working in different organizations, in education, nonprofit, to one, think about, is there an opportunity for your organization to apply directly, but also just to sort of spread the word, because historically we have managed most of these projects directly through the chapters. And we know that the chapters already have programs. A lot of the chapters don't necessarily have the bandwidth to manage another initiative in addition to the ones they have. So we're trying to sort of experiment a bit more with that direct approach. So trying to get more of the word out there to organizations. Once those organizations have been identified, we can then approach the chapters with a specific client and say, who wants to get involved? And sometimes that's sort of a bit easier because people may just identify with a specific organization as well. But I'd definitely be happy to chat with you also, just to see, collectively how we can, maybe collaborate to get the word out there more, and definitely open to ideas on how we can do that. So thanks so much for your questions.
And Han, just to add to what Michael said, feel free to leverage this platform as well, because this is an opportunity for organizations to get involved, to experience the power of coaching through, presentation like Michael's, and they can directly, experience it and interact with the key person. Thank you, Han. All right, any other questions? Mariam, please go ahead.
Yes, I think I heard it, Michael, during your presentation, that you mentioned as a coach to get involved, we need to be ICF members. Just wanted to clarify. Is that right?
ICF, so credentialed, so to actually have sort of an ACC, PCC, or MCC accreditation.
Certification. Great. Okay.
Great. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
And just one other thing I'll throw out there for those of you, specifically who do focus on career coaching, also groups that work, more closely within the newcomer community. I'd love you to sort of just reach out and connect. Those are areas I spend a lot of time in. So would love to connect and share ideas and sort of brainstorm as well. Also how we can sort of continue to expand involvement or organizations in those areas that may benefit from coaching, and how we might get others involved as well.
All right, thank you, Kim, for the reminder from the chat box. Alicia commented, we have corporate and community outreach portfolios who are looking to expand awareness to NGO and for-profit, always looking for volunteers. So visit our website. Okay, I think that's the comment for Han. And Jill, I think Jill has a question, right? Just give me a sec. Let me scroll down. I'm curious if anyone is interested in doing this with me as a team. I don't have an organization. Okay, so thank you for all the questions. Any new questions? Sammy, not a question, but a suggestion. Please load up all your data on your initiative and to ask AI to assist. All right, thank you. This includes where and how to reach out.
So Jill, and just to sort of respond also to sort of Jill's comment, Jill also sort of reached out to me. So to the extent, if we do end up with projects that come out of Canada, organizations that have applied directly, reach out to me so that I know that if those do come, that you're someone who's sort of interested in being involved. But again, thank you for putting that out there. So, if anyone has an organization in mind, it doesn't have to be a group of 10 coaches. It could be one coach that applies, or, it could be a partnership. So 2 coaches that want to work on this together. So, I'd say sort of don't be sort of too worried just about the scale. It doesn't have to be, scaled to an organization and 10 leaders in the organization. There's an opportunity to even sort of coach one person in that organization as well. So thanks so much, Jill, for throwing that out. And if anyone is interested in sort of partnering with Jill, I'd also encourage you to chat with her. But definitely, I'll just go to the next slide with my email address. For those of you that do have interest, reach out to me, let me know, and then and maybe what I'll do is just keep this list going. Also, be able to connect you with other coaches as well who have showed interest, and maybe we can just start building a bit of this coaching for social impact community too. All
right. So before we wrap up, I just want to express my gratitude to Michael for this informative presentation. Thank you very much, Michael. You're a professional, and smooth approach is very impressive. And before we jumped off, I have a humble request for all the participants here today, because your voice is very valuable to us, ICF Toronto's, and we genuinely seeking your insight. So if you can, please take a moment to share your feedback with regards to this event, and let us know what you like to learn in future programming events. All right, so I'm gonna post the link on our chat box, and you can use about 3 minutes to provide your feedback. There you go. All right.
And Leo, just to respond to Brenda's question there, I'm happy to sort of share the slides. So I'll provide that to Leo and Kim, and we can definitely distribute that. And feel free to, distribute those to other people as well who may be interested or perhaps have missed today's session.
Yeah, and the recording will be also posted. All right, okay. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Great, thanks
See you
everyone.
on the next event. Thank you.